Welcome back for another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. Find us on Facebook.com/superfunpodcast, Twitter.com/superfunpodcast, Patreon.com/superfunpodcast, Instagram @superfunpodcastgo, iTunes @Superfun Game Review Podcast Go. Thanks and enjoy the show.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go! I'm your host tonight, Ralph, with my co-host,
Steve.
I don't know why I said I'm the host and you're the co-host.
Max Haas.
Max Haas?
Max Haas.
Oh, Max, it is all right, Max. It is okay. You will be okay, Max. Max, come here. You will be okay.
Max Haas.
Yeah, so, Max Haas, what's the game? I think everybody knows.
Wolfenstein, yes, BJ Blazkowicz.
The New Order.
The New Order, not the
Yes.
Old Order. No. The New Order.
It is new. It is grand. Maybe?
We're terrible. We're terrible.
We really are. I know. But
Yeah.
I mean, the game kind of sets it up itself. I couldn't imagine the last time I would actually hear Heil Hitler in a video game. But I mean, you got to keep this story going.
Yeah, just quick disclaimer: we don't mean to offend anybody or do anything. This is a comedic show. None of this is all in jest. If you hear German accents throughout, no harm, no foul, none of that. We're not targeting any groups or anything like that. No.
Because we're getting PC now.
Now we're PC.
Yeah, now
you're
we're
right, yeah.
PC.
Yeah, you're right.
But I mean,
you're right.
let's be fair and honest. This is a game about killing Nazis.
Killing Nazis
With the Easter egg where you can find Brad Pitt.
What?
No, Inglourious Basterds. Maybe.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
No. Even though
Stiglitz.
at least to pull off from that, you're basically
Aldo Rain.
You're a bear Jew and you're destroying Nazis this entire game. It's great.
Bären Juden nicht.
Yes. Yes. Trying to take down Totemkopf.
Totemkopf.
Yeah, scary fucker.
We're gonna hunt Death's Head, or we did hunt Death's Head.
Yeah, Totemkopf.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he corrected that because apparently it didn't sound good in English, so he had to say it in German. I'm like, actually, it does sound a little bit better in German. Maybe.
Just like grocery cart, Lebensmittelgestaftkern or whatever.
That's what I just said about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. Before we started, you said that. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's time to unpimp the auto. Okay, let's get into
Let's do it.
Let's get into our initial impressions.
All right. Well, I'm going to be honest. I have not played a Wolfenstein since...
A Whattenstein?
Wolfenstein?
Wolfenstein is what I keep hearing.
Since Wolfenstein 3D, like where it's just terribly pixelated PC game and still kind of the same basis, killing Nazis.
Shooting, strangling, killing Nazis.
Yeah, although I think this game, even though it's significantly longer, a lot less swastikas in it.
Yeah, definitely a choice, I think.
Yeah,
like, I don't know
probably.
I don't know if they were like targeting Germany as one of their audiences, but they can't. Like in Germany, like you can't have that or anything.
No.
Like it's illegal. It's all banned. All that. So.
That's actually I'm kind of curious about how this game release was in Europe. I mean, understood in U.S. we all understand the history, but
we'll get into the history later. But yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, so when you brought this to the table, I'm like, you know what, that may actually be pretty fun. It's a series that most avid gamers know and have played in one way or another at some point.
Any gamer worth his salt has played Wolfenstein 3D.
Yes. So yeah, I was looking forward to it, and we're going to get into a little bit of everything tonight.
Yeah.
How did you come across this game?
Well, I'd like to start at the beginning. In the beginning, I was a young little boy in the 90s. And I went to my aunt and uncle's house, and they were babysitting us. And my uncle said, "Here, play on my computer." So kids were like running around doing all kinds of stuff, like playing in the jungle gym or whatnot.
You were there and
I was
Nazis.
I was there, and like I don't even know. I honestly don't know what kind of machine it was, but it was a home PC, and I distinctly remember playing some vintage classic games like Duke Nukem, but not Duke Nukem 3D, like Duke Nukem the side-scroller.
Yeah.
The predecessor to that.
Oh, okay.
And apparently that's, no, it wasn't a side-scroller, but like the Wolfenstein franchise started earlier than Wolfenstein 3D as like not a top-down, but almost like early like D&D, but not D&D, almost like early Ultima kind of style.
Yeah.
That genre, I should know what that genre is. Sorry, I don't. Didn't mean to offend anybody, but
You did.
Wolfenstein 3D to me was the first shooter I played, basically inventing the first-person shooter genre. I think id Software had a game where you were like a magician using the same engine, the same perspective, but then they transitioned it to Wolfenstein, and eventually they used the same philosophy for Doom, and Doom just blew up, and every game was called a Doom clone after that until they legitimately said, okay, the first-person shooter genre is born.
Yeah.
Doom clone was a term for years. To me, that's Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein is Wolfenstein 3D. That was my first shooter. I played that game for hours and hours and hours, never beat it. You know, it wasn't like I was good at it, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know, I liked running around and collecting gold, you know, and shooting Nazis and finding secrets in the walls and the whole thing. Like, I really got hooked and enjoyed that. I played Wolfenstein 3D, and I essentially moved away from the franchise. I know that they did Return to Castle Wolfenstein for, like, the PlayStation 2 era, and then they made another Wolfenstein game in 2009, but both of those I didn't actually play.
Gotcha.
And it wasn't until my buddy Bob was playing The New Order. Yep, Bob.
Good old Bob.
Good old Bob.
Bob.
He had it. He was actually on the submarine level because I was waiting for, like, I remembered certain things about it, and I remember it being really hard, and essentially, when I got to the submarine level, at this point, I was like, oh, this is just, this is a cakewalk. This is fun.
Yeah.
But at that point, it was like I hadn't played anything in the game. He said, here, you play. And I had two enormous shotguns that took up the whole screen. And I was in this little submarine trying to, like...
what am I going to do?
Yeah, that's when they introduced, I think, the round balls, like they're not flechette rounds, but
the scatter shots?
Scatter shots, yeah. And I just kept getting owned over and over and over and over again. But this is one of those games that was a very early... This current console generation, 2014, like I didn't have a PS4. He had one. He said, here, play this. And I was just stunned by the graphics and the frame rate and how smooth everything was and how great it looked. And I was like, holy shit, this is
not the Wolfenstein
awesome.
that I had known
well,
before.
Yeah, well,
I mean, obviously,
no.
there's a lot of time in between, but still.
Yeah. But that was my first impression. Strangely, I got a PS4 and I didn't think to buy Wolfenstein. I just kind of let it go. I ended up getting Bob the old blood as a gift later on.
Oh, okay.
And just sort of stayed away from the franchise again. I don't really know why. It's right in my wheelhouse for something that I would like. To me, Wolfenstein is like Doom Light, if that makes sense, because I always think about the history and look at Wolfenstein came first and then Doom came after. It's sort of like Wolfenstein was the idea, and then they came along and they mastered that idea and they made Doom.
No,
Everyone
I
remembers Doom more, or they liked it better than Wolfenstein. But I really wanted to just, dig in and play this game and get to see what it was like start to finish. I'm not going to spoil what I thought of it, but that's my initial impression.
Perfect. I dig it. I think that's a good spot to start on.
Do you dig?
I dig.
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it, BJ Blazkowicz?
We are the Cuddle Shovel Knight.
All right, let's move into game development.
Game development.
All right, so in 2009, ZeniMax Media, which to me is basically Bethesda. I think ZeniMax is the parent company of Bethesda.
I think so, yeah.
Bethesda essentially acquired id Software, meaning it got the rights to Doom, Quake, and Wolfenstein.
Which is a hell of a package to bring in.
It really is. And I have to say that even now, even though, at the time I didn't know who id Software was, didn't really care, when I was a kid, to me to see Bethesda and Wolfenstein just feels weird.
Yeah, a little bit. When I saw that in the opening credits, it's like, oh, really? I mean, granted, they produced it. It's not like it was, run under them.
True.
But that, even just, but to see those two things together, it's like, it's this is Fallout, at least with Bethesda. But
Right.
it's but to see them attached to something like this, I'm like, all right, I have hope. Let's do that.
Yeah, when I see Bethesda, I think Elder Scrolls and Fallout. Well, not unfortunately, but the early Fallout games obviously were not Bethesda, but I think from the get-go, Elder Scrolls has been Bethesda this whole time.
Yeah.
So it was actually made by Machine Games, which I didn't know of before this game. Don't really know too much about
That
Machine
makes
Games
two
right
of us.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if they rose from the ashes of id Software or what have
Phoenix.
you. I don't think so, but I have to commend them for what they've done and the way they've reinvigorated these characters, essentially reinvented BJ Blazkowicz, because almost every generation there was a Wolfenstein game, and I can't say for sure because I didn't play Return to Castle Wolfenstein or the 2009 Wolfenstein game, but it seems to me like they're reinventing him every time that they... I mean, he's an American soldier who kills Nazis, but they're reinventing his character, every time they make a game.
And I'll be honest, I've talked to one or two people. I haven't played those either. I didn't really get the best feedback from that.
No.
So especially trying to take a classic franchise, I guess the way it is, and try to do something new with it, that's a huge undertaking.
Well, yeah, you're right. Like a game where all you are is a prisoner and you're killing Nazis, you have to now invent a backstory and invent...
Yeah.
Even though the games before Wolfenstein 3D, I guess, had that bit of backstory for him where he was sort of a... not an OSS agent, but like a British agent, even though he's an American, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They built off that and went with it. We'll get into it when we come to the story. I do want to come back to what you just said about how it's not easy to do. And a little bit, I think BJ's a one-trick pony, like he just with the same note over and over again. But
No, I got you. We'll get there. I mean,
Yeah.
especially for the fact that, the preliminary development lasted like almost 3 years, like around that. That's...
they took their time.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it paid off, I think.
Which is a smart thing, because a lot of companies these days just try to rush it out to push out the product and then don't really take the time, because people are going to get...
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I don't know. It's like...
Talking about Activision. Excuse me. Are you talking about Ubisoft?
Oh, man, I wish you would get specific in here so I know what you were talking about.
Coming down with a cold.
But I mean, that's definitely where, when a company is willing to take the time to really put that much effort into it and make sure that it's okay, and even by the time like the preliminary stuff was done, it's pretty much, it came back and it's like, hey, we need a more polished version. It was even delayed for like another extra year just to make sure it's like, all right, well, you made it this far, still need to make it a little bit better.
Yeah, I was going to say that basically they probably had to build the engine from scratch because it's a new console generation. Even though now it's really easy, they build it on a computer and they just scale it to the demands of the hardware. Mm-hmm. They still had to essentially build it from the ground up, as far as I can tell.
Exactly.
And I was reading that apparently the way that the engine is built, and I don't know the specifics or the technical jargon, but the way that the engine was built for the game, they could scale it to the hardware easily. I guess that's why, surprisingly, the PS3 has a release, 360 has a release, and the Xbone and the PS4. And of course, the PC, which I don't know if it's the definitive version, but it probably is with keyboard and mouse. It's probably really fun to play.
Yeah. And actually, I was looking up real quick while we were discussing from earlier to answer my own question. For the German release, all the Nazi symbols and references were removed because, just like you said, it's a criminal offense to display Nazi imagery on toys.
Dude, what?
And they called it
How?
on toys. That's something that baffles me. It's like, I'm almost curious to see how... I mean...
They should have just called it something else. It should have been like the Red Army or something for Germany. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
By that, is it just like implied by that point? And like, of like, kind of what they're talking about, but without actually saying it?
Kind of read between the lines.
Yeah,
Nazis.
You really got it.
I mean,
the not Nazis.
What is that script? How does that script work? Like, how many times do they say Nazi in this game?
It's the nosies. They just changed the A to an O.
The nosies.
The nosies. See, it's not actually Nazi. It's kind of crazy. But then to have to go through...
We must do everything for Udolf Hister. Like, how do they do that? I don't know.
Heil Hofster.
Hofstar. So it turns out that the engine was actually built off of, which is weird because it's Bethesda again, or Machine Games. They built it off of the id Tech 5 engine, which was built for Rage. Okay, that's surprising to me because Rage, technically, I think it actually had some knocks against it for the engine. Like there was a lot of like pop-in. I don't know if you played Rage in the console
No, I
or
did not.
Okay, Rage was supposed to be like this big thing. Like Rage was supposed to be from the makers of id Software, set in like a Fallout scenario with
You got it. It's in there.
check me out. I'm dancing. Shooter, Borderlands.
Oh,
so it was supposed to be.
okay.
Yeah, I can't believe it did that. It's
Like
supposed
I
to
don't
be
know,
like
but no, I like the dancing.
Fallout, Borderlands, and Doom all mixed together. It was going to be Rage. It was going to be the next big thing, and like it shipped on consoles, and it sucked.
Ew.
Or at least I heard it sucked. I played a little bit, and it seemed okay, but that was after several patches down the road. You know, that kind of thing. If the game launches and it stinks, like you know how people are, they're really hesitant to go back to it. Almost like New Vegas, right?
Gotcha. Well, at least maybe they were just able to take the base of what they had for the engine,
foundation.
and then the foundation, and
The
they were
super
able to
concrete and the
with the
foundation.
uber concrete
The uber concrete.
and built upon it for giant monoliths for the Great Reich. I mean,
Fortunately, there was no mold this time when they did it because
Yes.
the id Tech 5 engine, I think, performs really well for this game.
oh, for this one,
Yeah.
I would definitely say.
Yeah, like I said before, one of the things that really surprised me was the graphics and the frame rate, and it was just so solid. Now, what's weird, I don't know about you, because you've got this amazing TV sitting right in front of me here. This gigantic smart TV that's curved. I don't have anything like it at home.
It's beautiful.
I have a monitor that it's basically a gaming monitor that is like 1 millisecond refresh rate. When I plugged my PlayStation into it and played it, I was like, I'm not seeing the same thing that I thought I saw from 3 years ago.
Gotcha.
And I ended up plugging it into just my regular like 60 hertz refresh rate television, and I sort of saw it again, if that makes sense. And again, this is more graphics, forgive me. But
Yeah.
in terms of the technical side of it,
I'm just going to cut you off right there.
Yeah,
It's smooth and beautiful.
it's smooth and beautiful.
That's the thing. It's that's basically why I paid the extra little bit for it, because I wanted something really nice. And I'm not even going to lie, the new one I got in the back, which is still the flat, flat. It's not curved. Probably would look even better than this, only because I think the new one I have has a higher refresh rate. But that just makes me think in my mind, well, do I almost want to switch it just because I know there's TVs that can handle better capabilities and have more of that realistic feel to it.
Right.
But I'm almost a little afraid of it because is it going to get so far to the point where it's just going to be a little bit of a disconnect?
Okay.
Only with the way I play video games and what I'm used to. If it's something a little more crisp, I know that sounds bad.
No.
But if you understand where I'm coming from with that, where it's almost going to take me out of it a little bit.
You mean like it's too pretty?
Almost. Only because playing on this, we're getting into graphics, but whatever.
Yeah, I got you.
It's smooth, it's crisp, but it almost looks more like a movie to me when I'm playing this, rather than, I don't know, it would put almost a little bit too much realism in it. I'm just saying.
Wolfenstein and realism don't go together.
Okay, all right, sorry. There weren't Nazis still running around in 1960.
You crash landed hard from the moon, and you were fought. Anyway.
Yeah, no, we'll get into Nazi lunar bases and everything else, but at least development-wise,
right. What I wanted to say was that I played it on like a 21-inch monitor, and at that point, if you're dual wielding, you're only seeing like a third of the screen because the weapons are so large.
I'm not gonna lie, you are not doing yourself justice playing this game on something 21 inches.
Right. The 6 months that they took, though, to go and look at everything, I'm thinking about it now. Imagine if you knew what we know about Rage, and you're releasing you're reinvigorating a franchise, Wolfenstein. People know the name. How much is riding on that? It's 2014.
You're going to put
May
in the
of
work.
2014. This is really important to put a foundation on the console and to not put a bad taste in people's mouths. You're gonna delay it, and you're gonna say, okay, this has to be flawless. And I
Yup.
think they did that.
Yeah.
And it worked.
No, it did.
So
And
props to you.
good job, guys. Good job, guys.
Let's move on into story.
Ooh.
Story.
I think they did really, really well with the story.
Okay.
I do.
All right.
I mean, I guess knowing we're going to review this and it being Wolfenstein, I was not really expecting much of a story.
okay.
So what they actually delivered with, I was pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
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 It seems you may have some different feelings.
Maybe.
Okay.
All right.
Which is okay. Only because, let me at least put it this way.
Okay.
With the way the game starts out, when you're in, I think it's 1940s, I believe.
Yeah, 46, I believe.
46, yeah.
Because I remember being surprised that the war was still going on, even though our timeline, the war had ended.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And something that I appreciate is that they gave a little bit of, I don't want to call it backstory because it's still part of the story, but when you take that first chapter or so where you're in 1946, and then the rest of the game takes place in the 1960s,
Right.
you saw where he came from and they kind of built up to it. And not only that, you had the relationships where you had to make a big decision over Wyatt or Fergus. That still played into the rest of the game.
Sure.
So story-wise, that kind of, I don't want to say stood out, but that I think they did a smart thing in having that first chapter or two showing kind of being like a prequel to it.
Yeah, it's a good prologue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'd have to agree with you. I mean, from the first, I don't know, 5 minutes, you realize that, okay, realism is gone.
Oh, yeah.
There is absolutely no realism in this. And I think
No.
I might be a little bit skewed, full disclosure, that primarily because I've been playing Sniper Elite 4, which the idea with that is much more realistic and like bullet drop and everything are settings that you can put in and
Yeah.
you know, an authentic
That
feel.
is not this game.
It really isn't. And it took a couple levels for me to just be like, look, accept it. Suspension of disbelief is
Yeah.
gone. But what's weird about the story is even with me doing that, there were still parts where I was like, Jesus Christ, like, is anybody supposed to buy this? Like, this is completely insane.
Well, I mean, it's going off an entire alternate reality where
No, I know.
where Germany wins World War II. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, sorry,
And-
we didn't say that. So
Yeah, and then
minor spoiler.
You learn that from going from 1946. You're in this crazy accident.
You get shrapnel in the back of your head. You then
Yeah.
float on a board. Like, you go into water. Like, you fall
Yeah,
you fall like 1,000
that
feet
one is
into
like
water.
where it's like, oh, and you just so have. They don't even show how he gets on the board. He's just on
Correct.
the board. He's Jack from Titanic. It's like, but he didn't fall off. He kicked the bitch off instead. Good for you. Good for you, Blasowitz. But at least with that, and then
let go, Anya.
well, that's a lie later on in the
No, but really, like, okay, suspension of disbelief. The first moment that was really like, holy crap, is like you're in this ridiculous bomber and you jump from like one bomber to another.
Yeah.
But those elements just like they keep ramping up and getting more and more insane. And the one point I was like, what the hell just happened was when you're in the castle in the first mission and a like enormous rock just like falls on your head.
Yeah.
And you get knocked out temporarily. And I was like, he would be dead. We just fell 3 stories and a boulder fell on his head. Like, I just couldn't,
Yeah.
I couldn't make that disconnect.
But it was brought up in the later on in the game. Something's different about you, obviously. When Boy Toy's cutting you open, and you're still going through, and then you end up fighting a giant fucking mechanized Nazi robot. I mean, come on. What do you?
No,
really...
I know. No. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. I know. I completely understand.
But I understand what you're looking for, where it's the detail they put in the game kind of makes it feel realistic in the position that you're in. Not so much the story of it, but the position you're in. So you want the story to follow along with that.
Sure.
But honestly, it's again, maybe I'm missing something from the PS2 releases, like in the late 2000s. That there's something else to it. I'm not taking any of that into account.
No, I know. This is like summer blockbuster mixed with Michael Bay, mixed with like fan fiction.
Well, it's goddamn Wolfenstein. What do
No,
you really expect?
I know. You're right. I just want to make it abundantly clear that when it comes to the story, there were multiple moments where I was just like, Jesus, this is ridiculous.
No, you look at it. I did the same thing. I looked at him like, really? And then I'm like, yeah, really. Fuck it. We're just going to do it.
Yeah, really.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
So,
really? He's going to get in. It's going to be great. He's going to shoot Nazis.
Oh, stop.
He's going to go through.
No, Mr. President, stop right there.
No. William, he's a great man. Greatest man ever. No other greater man other than me.
Is not going to be huge. Let me tell you. You're crazy.
This cannot be our entire podcast.
I know.
It's just terrible impression.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. It's probably going to be a good majority of it. So brace yourselves, people. It's the way it is.
Right. Back to Wolfenstein. It's now 1960. We're not going to go through the whole story, obviously.
No, but at least in the 1940s, you saw, at least I think a big thing is where you had to make a choice.
Okay, the choice. The choice is an important part of this game.
Yes.
Choosing Fergus or choosing Wyatt. Wyatt is like the young recruit. He's a private.
Yep.
Fergus is the grizzled war veteran who's been leading you hand and foot for the whole mission. He's almost like your superior officer. I'm not sure if he is, because I don't know exactly.
I think it's more of kind of like a mutual thing between the two.
Okay.
But at least with that, where it's, do you save the young hungry one, or do you save the one who you've been through shit with already?
Right. Okay. I'm interested to know your choice, but I just want to say mine first, if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
All right.
After you, sir.
And part of the reason is because Bob made a choice, obviously, and I didn't.
Oh, I want to know about Bob's.
So, moving ahead a little bit, after you do the submarine mission, you then go to Jewish Atlantis, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
And you go and you there's all the crazy technology and everything.
So no one gets mad.
Mission.
It's literally where the Jewish
secret
people,
technology created by
like
the Jewish
centuries
community.
and centuries, and it's at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. So
Ancient,
it is
thousands of years ago.
It's the Jewish Atlantis. So don't get pissed off. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that doesn't mean that's not meant to be offensive. So that mission there, I did that, and Wyatt was there. This is Bob's playthrough now.
Okay.
Wyatt was there, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you chose him." Blah, blah, blah. He said all this. I was like, "Okay." I remembered that coming into this, and I was like, "Okay." I'm curious to know what's different, even though I don't know a whole lot about it. And naturally, I wanted to choose Fergus, even though it makes sense you would choose the younger person who's got, his whole life ahead of him.
Yeah.
It just seemed to me that there was more of a connection between Blazkowicz and Fergus. Like, this is his good buddy. He's not gonna pick somebody else over him.
Yeah.
So I chose Fergus.
Oh.
Did you choose Fergus?
I chose Fergus.
Oh, crap.
Which
okay.
I almost wish I was hoping you'd choose Wyatt, just because I know there's like small differences within it.
Right.
I mean, like that one scene where you're in the resistance camp.
Yep.
And you walk in the room with Fergus, and he's just angry. And he's not just angry at himself, he's angry at you for
choosing him
over Wyatt. And I mean, the sad thing is, like, he really fucked Wyatt up. Like, and that came more true like towards the end of, the actual story of everything, which we'll hit on like kind of the tail end. But basically,
right,
Wyatt had some really pretty eyes in the beginning of the game. and Death's Head, took him right out. And even while he was still alive, bored into the back of his head, pulled out his brain, and
sucked his brains out.
And that wasn't the end of the personality of Wyatt that you found, which that kind of touched on a deep note.
Okay, 2 movie references from that conversation just now.
Do it.
So one is that they sucked his brains out. Is my best Michael Ironside from Starship Troopers, when the aliens bugs suck the brains out of people and then they get attacked. You've seen Starship Troopers?
Yeah.
It's been a long time?
Yeah.
Okay. The other one is, when we got to that point in the game, this is very late in the game, and it turns out that Death's Head is putting a brain into a mech, all I could think of was RoboCop 2. I don't know if you've seen RoboCop 2, but that's how that ends.
Really?
There's like a brain and a whole vertebrae and spine and everything from the main villain. He's essentially killed and then put into a robot that fights.
Oh shit!
Or put into a cyborg that fights RoboCop.
Oh.
It's worth watching if you've ever seen it.
I'm going to have to go back. I think I watched like the very first one, and that was about it.
I like the first one best, but the second one's not. It's not too.
I'll still
far
give it a
off.
chance. Still need to do that.
Anyway, I admit it's interesting how they skim over it in the first chapter, but then later you find out exactly what Death's Head did to the victim, either it's Wyatt or Fergus. I don't know how they differ. Basically cutting him open and just like sucking his brain right out the back of his head.
And Blazkowicz even said, it's like, I've seen so many terrible things, but nothing will ever compare to what the true, basically, for lack of a better term, the true monstrosity of what he witnessed in that room, being pinned down, having to watch this happen. And then I know, at least with the story, it kind of changed the gameplay a little bit, because I think by choosing Fergus, then you were able to hotwire things?
you hotwire panels instead of, I think, being able to pick locks.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if Wyatt is a lock pick or what
I have no idea. But at least with when it comes to storyline, getting back on like the main part of it,
ultimately, I don't think it changes that much.
No, I don't think it's enough to really kind of. I mean, honestly, maybe just. I don't know if it warrants enough to play through it again, which, don't get me wrong, I did enjoy it, but I mean, that's a long game and it's the same stuff over and over. But that's more for gameplay. I'll get there.
Okay, we'll get there.
And the one thing that I was kind of worried about was when Blazkowicz, after 1946, and goes through this traumatic experience and has the shrapnel through his head, he's floating on a board, he's put in the insane asylum, and he's, well, not insane asylum, but basically,
yeah, you could say that,
basically for like 14
I think it's 14 years
14 years, and he starts to have these dreams about laying out on a lawn chair and seeing kids run around, and the woman, are you really gonna do this?
I thought that was later, but okay.
No, I mean, there was one where they did like kind of like a flash to it, but you couldn't see the woman's face.
Okay.
You saw the kids running around, you saw him lounging, but he's like, I keep seeing this girl, but I don't know who she is. And then as soon as they start getting into the asylum, when he's sitting there, Anya, who's taking care of him the entire time, I'm like, that's where this is going to go.
The clear love interest, right? Okay.
Yeah, and then I don't want to call it a 180, but the direction they took that at the very end, it's
not typical.
I'm glad they did it that way, because it would have been really cheesy and corny if they would have just followed through with it. But of course you want the hero to make it through and this and that. A spoiler alert, he dies. It's done.
Who dies?
Well, you actually don't know that he dies.
Okay.
You don't see him die, so I will not say that Blazkowicz dies.
Not to mention, there's a sequel on the way.
Yeah, I know that, but still, I've watched enough Games of Thrones by this point to know if you don't actually see them die, I do not consider them dead.
We didn't see Stannis die, did we?
No, we did not.
And
then that's...
The true King in the North will be revealed in Season 8. Spoilers!
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, what? Oh, shit.
Future Ralph, maybe you should cut that.
Yeah, Future Ralph cut Game of Thrones reference.
So I have to say that the whole Anya Blazkowicz thing I think is weird. And I get it. He's been there 14 years. We don't really know how old Anya is, but...
She might be 32.
Okay.
That would make her 18 when everything happened.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep it... I don't know what legality is in Austria, Germany, whatever the fuck it is.
In alternate 1960.
Yeah, exactly. Alternate 1960 Germany.
The age of consent
Nazi,
in alternate 1960 Nazi.
I'm sure Nazi Germany is probably a little different, but we're in America right now, so I'm going 18.
Okay, great. What I'm saying is...
Fuck you.
What I'm saying is... I had this moment where I was like, what, did she start working there? She was 12 years old. Now she's like giving him a bath. Like, this is just weird. Like, did you, when you're in the asylum, if you after you wake up and you can move around and everything, if you go to the bathroom, he's like, I've been here before. And he has like this weird memory of like her giving him a sponge bath. And she's like, she's not panting, but she's kind of like, ooh. And I was like, whoa. this is a
This
little
is
weird.
getting way too hot. I mean, yeah, weird. Totally weird.
You know what? You ever seen Hard to Kill with Steven Seagal where he's in a coma? It's like the same thing. Oh my god. Wolfenstein. This should be called Wolfenstein Hard to Kill. Steven Seagal, and I'm gonna beat some people up.
I've been doing Aikido for like 32 years. No, I'm going to show you how's it going. How you doing, hombre?
Let me show you a magic trick. Watch me blow up because I ate too many burritos.
¿Cómo estás? You know I speak English, right? No more bien.
Do you speak pain? Snapping necks. No, anyway, so small Steven Seagal tirade. To me, it's kind of weird that like he was her patient for 14 years. Like it seems weird to me, and I get it. The asylum probably wasn't run by Anya this whole time.
No, it was run by her parents. Yeah,
and then as she grew up, like this one patient was always here. She'd probably like just, I guess, had a thing for him the whole time.
Well, I mean, she would bring it up. I think it was later on in the game where it's like, I always wondered if he could see me, if he knew I was there, because he was just like straight, just staring, never moved, never anything else. And that's where they showed like all the different seasons going in and going out,
I liked that section. I thought that was pretty well done.
So I think it was interesting that they chose to put I mean, if you want to call it a love interest in this story, but it kind of more ended up as
they just needed Blazkowicz. They needed someone for him to pork on the table and annoy all of his comrades.
Yeah, no, he definitely did do that. He really definitely did do that.
Kidding.
But at least he just literally they fucked on a table and someone got annoyed at it. The ex-Nazi, which we have to get into him.
We'll get to him. I don't want to get into him, but we'll talk about him.
Don't lie to me, Ralph.
So. Right. From the asylum, the Nazis decide they don't need it anymore, and Blazkowicz just basically stands up. And to me, like it's sort of unexplained as to why.
He kind of stood up. He fell down because he didn't use his legs in a while.
His legs are atrophied. But
if you haven't used your legs in a decade and a half, are you really going to be able to stand up that quick and start killing more Nazis?
Oh, that's a good point. He kept all that muscle mass this whole time he's been.
Sat
in a chair in the same corner of the room.
No, he's just this beefy, stocky, fucking American cowboy. Good for you, America. Show that.
Okay, cowboy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking for more realism than I really should be.
And that's the thing. You need to push that shit aside, or else you're just going to be disappointed.
Well, I mean, I wasn't disappointed. It was this thing that I just kept coming back to. Like, I wanted to enjoy it more, but my mind was like,
yeah.
The moon?
No, I get
oh, God.
Well, I mean, that's further down. At least yes. I do like the fact that you still found the resistance. And then...
Okay, we'll get into the resistance, sure.
Which, that's still part of, I'm just saying, for storyline, character building. So, obviously... You have connections with these people from the past, which I don't know if I missed a couple things. Like, was it Christina?
The wheelchair?
Yes.
Okay. When they meet and he's like, oh, they know each other, like, I had no context.
No, I had no idea what that was
could have been in a previous game.
So maybe it was, but at least coming in, it's like, all right, so he knows a few people, and obviously this was from the war long ago. Everybody thought everybody else was dead, and they're not. And there's some new people.
Yeah, and, Fergus being the main connection for our playthroughs, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, once you actually break them out and bring them back.
Right, which was kind of fun.
I thought that was pretty neat. It's like, especially because you're in this place, you don't know what's going on. It's like, where do they keep, like, the most highest secure prisoners? Or here. Oh, fuck it, I'm going to go get them. And then it's, in my mind, I'm like, Fergus should be there. I just had a young American man's eyes and brain gouged out of his fucking body. You better fucking be here.
Right. That the mission where you go in and you bust out the resistance members, I think that was the first one where I realized, like, you know what, that was really easy. Like, not gameplay for us, the player, easy, but like Blazkowicz just kind of does things, and they
Well, yeah.
go off without a hitch. As part of a linear story, like, he just does it, it's no problem. He's like, okay, we need to go to the moon, we need to do a spacewalk. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it, no problem. Like, that's just it. Like,
Yeah.
there's no...
I've never walked on the moon before, but I'll figure it out. Why not? And
Yeah, like,
shoot
I'll make it up
robots
as I go
while I'm
along.
at it.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, fuck him.
I didn't take any shots and get a tear in my spacesuit and, lose all my oxygen. And
American hero.
No.
Yeehaw, motherfucker. That's the way it goes. That's what I really pulled off of this.
All right, maybe we should start a counter for your yeehaw,
I think
America.
two or three.
I think we're at 2, yeah.
All right, I'm fine with that.
All right, so to summarize, ultimately, Death's Head is this guy who BJ Blazkowicz had history with before. Now he wants revenge on him.
So yeah, he was introduced very early in the game as, hey, this is the big bad right here.
Yeah, but they were going after him specifically. I
Yes.
thought. So there's already sort of some kind of like unspoken history, or it's in a previous game.
Which he's like a Dr. Mengele. He performs experiments and everything else. It's like he's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, and scaly and everything, and looks weird. The goal is basically to defeat him.
Yep.
And Blazkowicz gets put all over the place, and the headquarters for the resistance being set in Berlin. At first, I was like, okay, this is all right. And then once they steal the helicopters and then fly back to Berlin.
Yeah, and like underneath, like where
Yeah,
they have cameras everywhere.
I got to admit, I was kind of like, this is dumb for the story. Like, okay, you've got these helicopters, you've got these resources that you stole. Fly to I don't know, the North Pole or something. Make a new base. Start a new base somewhere else and launch from there for the rest of the game, was what I stopped and thought about.
But the only place they would never think about is right underneath their nose.
Yeah, but they've stolen these helicopters. Like, it just didn't. It to me, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. The fact that no one is finding them. This doesn't make sense.
So, sorry, it wasn't more realistic in 1960 Nazi Germany.
I know. Okay,
Yeah.
I got one more thing I want to say about
All right,
realism.
all right,
and then you can slap me across the face if I bring it up again. I have a screenshot of a cordless drill in the compound, like a battery-operated DeWalt cordless drill.
Yeah.
Okay. Then this was before we got into the crazy technology that was basically hidden by the Jewish community, and some people leaked it here or there to the Nazis. They found it and did whatever. I don't know how the technology has been distributed at this stage. I think it's the first mission where you're in just the hideout, because there were like 3.
Yeah.
I think, or 4.
Something like that.
There are
around
4.
that. Yeah, okay.
There's the first one where all you do is walk around and like talk to Max or whatever, and then there's the one where you get the shotgun and you have to you fall through the floor. You're trying to get the drywall.
There's the one with the circular saw. There's the one for the welding torch.
The welding torch, yes. And then finally you go back to it when it's all on fire and everything. In that first one, because I didn't know anything about the technology, to me it was game-breaking that there's a cordless drill with a battery pack in alternate reality.
Okay.
1960.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah.
In the very first scene where you're in that plane with Fergus, and they start talking about the aircrafts that Germany is using.
Jets?
They said, I have never seen anything like this. They're using jets. So already right there, I think that kind of sets the premise of, hey, they stumbled upon something that nothing else this world has ever seen before. And that's just something that I took away, because I'm not going to lie, it's like the same thing. It's like you have a handheld welding torch in the 1960s. Everything that came in like the 1960s playthrough was kind of stemmed off of There's nothing in this world. So I mean,
we're talking about laser weapons in 1960. I get it. I know.
On the moon.
I know.
With a Nazi moon base.
I know. Like I said, it was like mission 4 or 5. I didn't really think about how alternate we're talking.
You were
here.
just more in the moment.
I was
like, what the fuck is
that
this?
A fucking cordless drill?
Cordless drill. Out of everything that's happened in this game,
yeah,
you take a look at the cordless drill.
Oh, yeah.
What the fuck is that?
I was like, I'm triggered. I'm fucking triggered by this cordless drill, man. That is some bullshit. I don't care that the Nazis won the war and that there are robotic dogs and electric
No, fuck this.
cutters
But this
and
cordless
lasers.
drill, that's a bunch
that
of
cordless
shit.
drill, man. No.
God.
You've gone too far.
I think we're going way off a story here. Although I understand that is kind of an important
That is
part.
all I wanted to say.
Okay.
When it comes to the lack of realism, that's it. I'm not going to bring it up again. Yes, we go to the moon.
Story-wise, like, it goes some weird places.
But it's fun.
It's going to happen. But that is the thing. It's fun. It's when I heard about, the first time they said Nazi lunar base, I'm like,
Yep.
oh, fuck, I'm going to the moon.
Right. So when you go to what is it? The London Nautica, and
Yeah.
I think you go in there, and there's the big like moon exhibition or what have you, and it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. That'd be cool if we could go there, and then you end up doing it.
Yeah.
And it's fun, but that cutscene felt really, really quick. Like Blazkowicz just like gets in and like boom, you're on the moon and that's it. Like there was almost no build up, and you're surprised when you get there.
Yeah, I mean, you had to go through the motions to like go get the
codes.
the chief.
No, the codes are on the
suit.
moon. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you had to go and run through the destruction through the trains and go get like the actual chief scientist suit, and then I know what you mean though. So it's basically, hey, I found the guy, I got a suit, and now I'm on the moon.
Yeah.
Which at the same time, I could see where it's like, wish there was a little something in that, but I'm on the moon, motherfucker. It's like that's pretty good for me right there. I know we've been droning on for story a little bit long, and I've been more on the positive side of things. I will say, I understand the end game has to leave something open for something next, but it just felt like it was cut. It was just cut off. There wasn't really anything else from it.
Okay, all right, that's fine. We can get to this point. The other story elements, if you're interested, play the game. It's fun.
I definitely do.
It did feel abrupt.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, other than maybe final thoughts, this segment, I want to talk about the tone of the story.
Yeah, well, I feel like BJ, he set the tone for the end of it. Especially, like, I thought it was very fitting to have, from the beginning of the game, there's Anya taking care of these patients that are coming in, taking care of him, and then at the very end, he makes the speech of basically like
she's
the
a
Statue
goddess
of Liberty.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
Right.
He basically made the, give me you're weak, you're tired, you're poor, and there she is with the flashlight guiding people
She's
in
Lady
the
Liberty.
middle of the Yeah, exactly. And she's not even American, but she had some in her for a little bit.
Oh my God! That whole thing was a build up for that joke. That whole thing.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
The little Nazis on the carpet now. Yeah.
Did you listen to the audio logs where she talks about her sister that killed Nazis?
Yeah.
Throughout.
Was it? I think
And
Regina.
then she gets pregnant.
Yeah,
something like that.
Or her cousin.
Is it her cousin?
Yeah, I think it was
thought
her cousin.
sister. Okay, your cousin.
Yeah.
Those were fairly interesting. Like she's like how every time it's a different way that she kills
Yeah,
Nazis.
and she just keeps saying the Nazi.
The Nazi,
And it's
yep.
always a different Nazi, but she just says the Nazi. I'm like, oh, all right, dig it.
No, I actually liked those bits. I was surprised that we were more than halfway through the game, and it's like now we're getting audio logs. Like this is odd. Why? And why can't I push the button and play around? Maybe BioShock has spoiled me in that fact that you could listen to the
Probably.
audio log while playing.
Yeah.
All right, so real quick, the tone. I feel that the tone of this game and its story doesn't really match the gameplay or what they were going for. And stay with me.
I could understand. No, I'm with you.
You boot the game up, and you get like a couple notes, and then it's just like this rock music, right? And I'm thinking to myself, and this isn't music, but I'm thinking to myself, okay, so this is like just badass shoot 'em up. Got it.
Yeah.
But the game and the story really takes its time to sort of build Blazkowicz as a sympathetic character, where he's very almost sentimental, and it comes to a head. I'm thinking of the mission where you're in the underground in the water, and he's recounting about his life and everything.
Oh, okay. Like when he's coming up like out of lake with like the leeches and everything
Yeah,
else.
he was like, oh, I was 14.
Yeah.
It was a dark hole, but it wasn't as dark as this. Like that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, they're really kind of like, okay, this is trying to like bring some like emotion here to it, even though we're shooting Nazis on a lunar base. Like it And then once you get to the ending is like bittersweet in the way that we think Blazkowicz is done and everybody else survives.
Yeah.
But then it's just boom, and it cuts to this like slow moving, like,
Oh, you're talking about like the final music?
Yeah, I'm talking about the credit music. I know,
Yeah.
and again, we're not talking about music.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of blending.
We get into that, and I'm like, what is the fucking tone of this game? Like, either make it like a serial, sort of like Indiana Jones kind of thing, and then don't tack on like Celine Dion in the credits after Indiana Jones. It doesn't make any sense.
I can understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, I think that is kind of fitting for the way that the game progressed, because you start out in the cockpit of an airplane, shooting down other planes, jumping from one to another, and then throughout the rest of the game they start building up a little more of, oh, it's not just run and gun, shoot 'em up type of guy, where this is just, he's a soldier, that's what he does, he's going to die.
It's like a tragic story of
Yes,
Blazkowicz.
and I really think that this game really embraced the idea of kind of like a tragedy, like just like a tragic play. And I don't think I've ever gotten this in depth of it, because there's not a whole lot of other games that have really done something like that, where it's that may not have been what they're going for, and that may not be the overall goal, but I do think that's something they had in mind for the game. You take this rugged, hardcore American soldier, badass, blow him up, everything else. You put him, he goes through this giant situation in his life where he's
classic hero.
Yes, and then through that's where he just starts to develop, hey, maybe he's not just this rugged leather out, shell of a person. He has emotions through it. And then they touch on that through what he went through with Wyatt and Fergus in the beginning, and then they start going through that with Anya. They even touch on that just watching the patients being taken in and out, getting in with the resistance, and then finally having this goal of, holy shit, it doesn't matter what the exterior persona that he's trying to put out, this is what the inner part of him really is. Granted, he's still a badass motherfucker till the very end, but you see a completely different side of him that you would have never expected from the beginning. And then, I understand where I think they may have gone a little overboard with like the super soft music going during the credits. But I don't know. I think it's just, it kind of follows suit of the development of his character throughout the entire game, and then ending on that, even though it, as abrupt as it may have been, which, I just told you, it's like, oh.
Yeah. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but to me personally,
yeah,
I felt like the tone of the story didn't match the tone of the gameplay. If that even starts to make sense.
Well, I mean, when you're running through first-person shooter, shooting down Nazis left and right, no, it's any type of sentimental stuff really isn't going to...
The gameplay's too almost silly for the emotional impact or the emotional weight of the story they were trying to present.
So do you think they try to force that a little more?
Yeah, I think the ending felt a little forced. Yeah.
No, and
that's a good way to put it.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that.
No, you can't disagree with me, Steve. That's not acceptable.
Is this what's going to happen now?
Yeah, no.
I need my Nazi hunting knife. Where is it?
That's not funny. Can you say a different knife? Can you just say, where's my knife?
Where's my knife for Nazi hunting? Oh, shit. I can't do it. I can't do it. Son of a bitch.
Okay. So ultimately, that's the main chunk of the story, and what I wanted to say for the story for this game.
Yeah, and I'm along with that. We may have rambled on the story, and...
We rambled?
We rambled. We're on Wolfenstein. It feels good. But honestly, there was a lot more into this story than I would have given this game credit for at face value.
Okay.
So
that's fair.
I'll give it that. I think that's my own personal good ending for story.
All right. Let's move on to the gameplay then.
Gameplay.
All right, so the gameplay for Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Yes.
First-person shooter.
Yeah. Variety of weapons.
I'm ready to make shit dead.
Yes. And actually, something I did enjoy about this that was brought up in BioShock, which was one of my complaints, was quick switch option, where instead of having to cycle through the weapons again, you could just quick hit, or at least for PS4, triangle, and it just switched to your last weapon,
Right.
and you can align it like that, which I really appreciated for this.
I liked it, but I felt that the sensitivity was a little too sensitive for me, because there were times where I didn't like dual wielding. I just want to throw that out there.
No, I never really dual wielded at all.
Dual wielding to me, all it really did was waste ammo,
Yeah.
especially with the assault rifle that you get.
Oh yeah.
But I just thought those were a little too sensitive, and I preferred to like set up before I went into a room, knowing what weapons I was going to use.
Yeah,
ahead of time.
I did the same thing. It was good to plan for it here and there.
Yeah, like I think I almost would have preferred just to cycle through. I don't know.
I got you.
Maybe.
Well, at least another thing which I know has been a point of contention within the members of the podcast is vehicles and just being thrown into completely different, like random
At random stages of the game.
Yeah, like when you're in the little submersible and you're going around, which really
Sure.
wasn't that bad. I thought it was really awesome. You actually got to control one of the mechs when you were at
Oh yeah,
breaking out of the prison,
in the in the camp.
the concentration camp, basically.
Yeah, it's basically what it is.
Yeah. The fact you got to control one of those things, even if it was just for one round, I enjoyed the shit out of that. The fact that it still picked up the armor,
Yeah.
and that it wasn't just, oh, this is just going to go down and then it's done. You could actually still, keep the health going on of the same,
Yeah.
same mechanics.
Yeah, you had rockets, which were unlimited, I think, and
Yep.
just a chain gun.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was a very, I don't know, sometimes that can be kind of a hard thing to do, but it's not like they made the controls so difficult where it was anything different. You moved, you aimed, there's your reticle, you shoot, and that's pretty much it.
The submersible thing, I think, was inverted, and it kind of threw me off.
Oh, well, that's...
You were probably fine with that.
Oh, I was perfectly fine.
Right.
Any first-person shooter, I invert the y-axis, but that's just because I grew up with flying games, and that's just how I learned.
No, I gotcha.
I've been tainted.
This game interestingly has those different perks and like gameplay styles that you can use. Where if you like to play more stealth, you unlock more little perks to help you through that. Like I think there were stealth, tactical, demolition, and one more.
No, there is one more. I forget what it is.
Yeah.
But I think it was kind of neat that it's not like it was a skill tree where you had to unlock
Right.
it and just choose.
Right.
It basically upgraded you on your play style.
Right. So if you preferred stealth kills, you got buffs to stealth.
Yeah, which I was quite stealthy. I think
Me
that's-
too, actually.
Yeah?
That's funny that I was curious to see what you were going to say. The game, I think, really wants you to just play balls to the wall, like machine gun and shotgunning, just
Yeah.
like a maniac. But I found the stealth to be surprisingly fun, and I have some really long distance headshots of the officers with the suppressed like MagSec 3-shot Luger that you get.
Oh yeah.
You know
Or
what I mean?
or just the like the marksman. Like once I had that, and you were
Oh,
able
yeah.
to like scope down with it a little bit. It's like, oh, well, I mean, certain situations. If I was able to take out a commander, like, but it was a
Sure.
long distance shot, then fuck yeah, he's going to get a bullet through the brain. Otherwise, I'll creep around for a little bit. I'll make my way to you, bitch.
I liked using the throwing knives, surprisingly. I didn't think I'd like them that much, but after playing around a little bit in the hideout, whenever I had them and it was in my arsenal, if I was being stealthy, I was using those throwing knives and picking them back up and using them again. Like,
Yep.
I've really enjoyed that. And I didn't expect stealth. I really didn't expect stealth in this game.
No, not at all.
And part of the reason I think I enjoyed it was because there were no consequences for going stealth. For instance, I've already beaten Metal Gear Solid 5, which to me is still... Say whatever you want about, Kojima and Konami and everything, but for a stealth game, like that is really technically great. So if you shoot a guy from a distance, someone's going to notice it. And they're going to come by, they're going to go alert, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. You know, same for the whole Metal Gear franchise. Metal Gear Solid 2, for instance.
Yeah.
With this, I could pop a guy with the pistol right in front of another guy and no consequences.
No, yeah, and that made it a lot or at least like when you see there's a soldier and the dog, it's generally you're going to take the dog out first, because I had
Correct.
it once or twice where if you take out the guy, the dog pops up and, you know, the alarms are raised.
Yeah.
Where at least with that, it's like, all right, kill the puppy. Sorry, dog lovers.
Vicious robo-Nazi dog.
That's a better way to put it.
You're right.
It sounds not as bad.
Not a sweet, gentle, innocent, sweet,
No, this
sweet
was
puppy.
this was not a sweet puppy at all. Which I hate to use the word realism, but the Nazi robos, like the giant, like
With the
Nazi
metal
mechs,
faces. Yeah.
it's like where the fuck did this come from?
This head compound. He does human experimentation.
Yeah, this is very true, but it's like that kind of took it out a little bit.
Suspend
But
your
I mean,
disbelief, huh? All right.
Oh,
This is a story.
Hey, you know what?
This is a jokey story.
I'm sorry. Yeah, jokey story.
Jokey Nazi story.
But at least the way I did like the upgrade system. I'm not going to lie. I really didn't pay attention to what I got. I would just see an achievement pop up or something else, because that's just the way I'm playing. So, I got something bonus out of it. Cool shit. I'll take it.
Yeah, I basically started to try to knock out the stealth tree. The one, I think it's tactical. You're supposed to get like 80 cover kills. The cover system, which we need to address, I barely used.
Yeah, I want to say out of like the entire gameplay, I maybe used it 25 to 30% of the time.
Let me clarify. By cover, I mean like leaning.
Yes.
And that kind of thing, because if someone's shooting at you, you're spotted, and you can crouch behind a metal crate to stop yourself from getting shot. That I would do, but I wasn't really considering that part of the cover system. That's just like normal cover.
Agreed. It was more just, hey, so I actually get to keep some health.
Correct.
Yeah.
I guess we should address the fact that you can buff yourself. You can over buff your, not your armor, but you can over buff your health.
Your health, yeah, overpower.
Overpower it.
Yep.
One of the perks is to get to 200, which I did, and then frequently got over 200.
Yeah.
Because you can really stack that stuff up. If you're stealthy, you can just stack it up because you're not getting shot or hit or anything. And
if you keep finding all of the actual health upgrades too, which I think I maybe found 4. Yeah, probably about 4. Only because that hacking the wires, the hot wiring kind of helped out with some of those like safes and such.
Yeah.
But when I actually went through after I beat the game and saw, how many you were actually able to get, I'm like, God, I missed a lot of shit. Granted, didn't need it too much, but still.
Okay, since you brought it up, the health upgrade thing, really cool little tidbit. I don't know if you knew or not, but in the hideout, there are 2 beds. The one bed is for you to play the original Wolfenstein, the first level.
No.
That's all the way on the 3rd floor. You'll see a poster of Wolfenstein 3D, I'm sorry. The original Wolfenstein 3D.
Yeah.
If you push square, it says Nightmare, and you can have a Nightmare where it's set in the old style graphics, but for everybody else, but for you, it's your modern gameplay and graphics for the game. You missed that?
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, Steve, I'm sorry.
And then because I knew there was the regular bed where you could just sleep, but I'm like, why would I need to do that?
Right, and then when you wake up, there's a health upgrade.
Ah, shit.
On the table.
Ah, shit.
And you can do this in 3 of the levels.
Fuck.
Yeah, fuck, yeah.
Because the only throwback I ever saw for Wolfenstein, I forget which compound. It may have been, I think it was on the U-boat when you're running around on one of the monitors. Was like a little bit of it was a clip from Wolfenstein 3D.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where
I missed.
where you just saw him. I was walking by and I just saw a picture on the screen. I'm like, oh shit, look at that. Oh man, now I'm pissed. I didn't.
Sorry.
Get that.
So
okay.
I speaking of which, I did that the Wolfenstein 3D part twice, and both times I did it, it was the first level of the game, and then once you beat the first level, it takes you out. You wake up, essentially.
Okay.
So after that, I didn't go back there anymore because I didn't just want to do the same thing over and over again, and I was trying to get through the game, obviously.
Yeah.
It's possible that maybe if you get a high enough score or do things right, that you get level 2, or maybe it continues. I don't know. But I did it twice, and both times it ended when you beat the level, and then you wake up.
Gotcha. Ah, damn. I should have paid more attention to that.
It was fun.
Oh, well.
It was kind of cool.
What are you
It
gonna
also it was just as difficult. It wasn't like it was easy. You'd think it'd be easier, but yeah.
Yeah.
So there is the submarine section. There's a section where you pilot the mech. What else are we thinking in terms of vehicles? Like you ride along with the grandparents, with Anya's grandparents at one point. But
yeah, and then there's the one where Fergus steals the card and you drive the card, and basically it's just you mow down a few Nazis and then drive out a window.
Yeah, there are not a whole lot of vehicle segments to this, I'd say.
No.
Primarily you're on foot and you're running and gunning.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, usually gameplay is a long segment, but I mean when you're dealing with a game like this, there's
Well, I'm not quite done.
I did want to talk about the shooting mechanics specifically,
okay.
where you've got your normal foot soldier Nazi for 1960, let's say, where they're armored and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you're shooting them and shooting them and shooting them and shooting them. I played on normal. I didn't play on hard or crazy or survival or whatever.
Yeah.
I played on the normal mode. And I just felt that, with the exception of the shotgun with the bouncing rounds,
Yeah.
the guns really didn't penetrate that well. Like, the assault rifle frustrated me. The special laser cannon that you get, I think it's called like the Laser Kraftwerks.
Yes.
That, I didn't get all of the upgrades, but I got a few of them, and I didn't get the one that regenerated. I didn't get the one that regenerated the ammo. So I used it sparingly throughout the whole game.
Gotcha.
And I really felt like the game wants you to use that almost exclusively, because the other weapons feel a little nerfed.
By the end of the game, yes.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm only saying that because I think I got pretty much all of the upgrades for it. And once it starts regenerating itself, it makes it a lot easier. And when you go to the recharging stations, the only thing I really used it for was the energy marksman.
Okay.
Because then I found out at one point where it's like, oh, I can actually use this to recharge this.
Right, I found that too.
Yeah.
On the moon, it was particularly helpful, and Death's Head's compounds.
Totemkampf.
Death.
Totemkampf.
You know who I mean?
Yes.
His compound.
Yes.
And also, real quick, we didn't mention Frau, whatever her name is, and her lover Booby.
Her little Booby. Oh, little boy toy.
I remember Booby because I have a family member named Booby.
It's,
They call him Booby.
the only time it's weird that when that came up, because that's what I call the weird crazy dog. Is like, oh, Bubby, and then when we say
Bubby.
oh, Booby, I'm like,
Booby.
oh, that's weird. But instead of being a tiny Chihuahua dog, it's a Nazi blonde hair, blue eye, Frau loving everything else.
Yeah, your dog likes older women. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Whatever floats his boat, man. I'm not going to judge him.
Death's Head's compound. There's two sections where there's like this there's walkways, and it's almost like the hallway from the Matrix. There's two sections. The first one I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. The second one though, between the rocket guys and the bouncing shotgun guys and regular mechs and one big mech and everything, I had to do that part over and over and over again. And it wasn't until I finally did it, took a couple steps, and then, oh, Booby got me with a shot, and now I'm at the end of the game. Like, literally, like, I was stuck at that segment for a while. There's a big difficulty spike right there. And if I had had the generating laser Kraftwerk upgrade, I think it would have been a lot easier, because I had to constantly come back to those stations, charge, find a guy who I know that laser weapon is really good against, do a full charge blast, kill him outright, go back and run and do whatever. And in between, just normal guys, just like use a shotgun. It really took me, maybe an hour and a half to get through just that segment. And I was like, oh man, it must continue on from here. And I was like, oh my God, I got stuck right at the bottleneck. And from there, The rest of it was because even Death Side was easier. Like the final boss fight was easier than that segment to me.
The one that caught me off guard was when you're in a Death's Head compound, like the second time, and you go to climb that ladder when you're down in the laboratory, and Booby jumps out with the fucking needle.
Jump scare.
I did not. Yeah, number one, that took me off guard. I'm like, oh fuck, and then it's going through the whole segment, and the first time I didn't realize that when he leans in close and starts whispering about like the smell of warm blood, I didn't see there was like the QTE.
Oh, the prompt.
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't see that, so I missed it, and then I just died. I'm like, well, what the fuck? And then every single time I'm trying to find a different way to make sure he doesn't jump down, and it keeps happening. So I'm like, I'm not going to lie, probably about like 20 minutes, and it's like, maybe I'm missing something. And so I let it play out again, because I kept restarting from last checkpoint. I'm like,
right.
Why the fuck can't I get this guy not to pounce on me with a goddamn elephant tranquilizer? And then I finally saw the prompt for it, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Click. Oh, I bit the fuck out of him. Oh, look at you, little bitch. And then just the kills. And honestly, that was something that I know it sounds kind of morbid, like stealth kills, like how it's just quick cut, like the Achilles, and then into the side, and then up through.
Or in the neck, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like his was probably my favorite, because he's just sitting there, and he's such a little cunt.
Oh, doesn't it go in like he goes in his mouth?
He goes like through this side. He goes through like the side of his head, and then he goes like right underneath the jaw, like right straight up. And it's just like a series of 3. That was probably the most satisfying one.
And then
everything.
His lover is like, oh.
Yeah, she's just shaking like her old bitch with her goddamn crazy messed up jaw, which I am sure she has to be in the next one.
Yeah, she's in the sequel. I've seen that in trailers.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I hope she's one, and maybe in the sequel you actually get to kill Hitler, or maybe they won't put him in there. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Anyway, back to the gameplay.
Yeah, back to gameplay. I really loved the shotgun. I didn't feel that the iron sights really worked as well as they wanted. I ended up just using the normal reticle, and when it would go red, if I was going for a long distance shot or something like that. I actually didn't even like the sniper rifle. For some reason, I felt like using the crosshairs, it just didn't work for me. Like
was the sensitivity really threw that off.
Well, maybe, yeah.
And especially if you're going to play with something like that, maybe in hindsight, kick it down a little bit. But that's only because that's going back to I used to be a really big sniper in Call of Duty, and then even more so in Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
And that was one where I would definitely turn down the sensitivity on it, because it gives you that little more precise accuracy that, at least for myself, the way I like to play, really kind of helps out.
The laser gun, the alternate setting where you cut through things.
Yeah.
That was one big, not really like an innovation, but that was one thing that I really took away from the game and will stay with me. I think the way that you would have to cut vents or cut gates or cut boxes to get the loot inside.
Yeah, no, I think that was a very cool addition that they put in, because of course you could just take the knife out for the wooden crates and smash it and everything else,
right,
but you had to look for those specific ones, like, oh, I can use this here. But I really like the Lasercraft Works. That was a really cool
one of the
cool
unique
weapon and
more
tools.
Unique elements, and tools of this game. And that sort of ties into one thing we didn't go into too much detail, which was the collectibles throughout the levels, and how that adds to the replay value. Like, collect Enigma codes here, collect gold there, collect letters, collect upgrades. You collect upgrades for the weapons throughout as you go through the missions. You can miss them, and then that leads to a higher difficulty if you get stuck in situations.
And that's why I'm such a loot whore, because I never want to fucking miss everything.
No. I know what you mean. Like, there were times where I was scouring, and the map would have hints as to where they are and what they are. And I did find scouring for loot in this game to be fun. I wanted to continue on the main story as much as I could and as fast as possible, but I still wanted to stop, look around, and find those items.
Now, I never actually tried, but I wanted to know, are you able to restart the game with the items you have and then start a new campaign, or is it just kind of like from fresh?
Like a new game plus?
Yeah.
Well, after I beat it, I went to resume thinking that I would be prompted with like a new game plus, but I was actually given my last checkpoint, which was the Death's Head fight. But I did read that you can replay, and the laser craftworks that you
So
keep.
that's the one that stays upgraded.
Right, and
okay.
then you can...
Which, I mean, makes sense because throughout the rest of the levels, it's like there's some where you just wake up and you have a knife and just the laser craft works.
Yep,
And
yep.
then, okay. Well, I mean, I guess that's really better than nothing, or at least like you're able to you still keep the amount of enigmas, because it's hard to find everything. There's a lot of those fuckers.
A lot of
throughout
stuff
the
to
game.
find.
Yeah.
A lot of loot.
But I mean, I really didn't spend too much time on the collectibles. I was like way too much into the game, and maybe that was just pressure for time. But I mean, just even getting through the main storyline and not worrying about everything else that you could pick up, I mean, you're still looking about like 12, 15 hours.
To wrap up, I think just the boss fights. I found it interesting that the final boss basically is in 3 parts, where first you fight whoever it is that you choose to sacrifice to Death's Head, whether it's Wyatt or Fergus, and all you really have to do is hit him with an EMP grenade, and then you just walk up and push square, and that's it. That fight is over.
Yeah,
for mine,
for
Wyatt
that
was
one.
like I can't live like this. Like just end it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he did. It's like you hit the EMP, it goes off once, and you actually hear him, and it's like,
he's talking,
Captain, you need to end this. I'm like, oh fuck! And then you throw another one, and the little brain pops out, and then you take it out that way.
Yeah, and then you awkwardly shoot it in your hand, which I thought was weird.
Yeah, which you could have put it on the ground and did it, but you did it either way. It took me a minute to realize that I needed to take down the Zeppelins to take down Death's Head the first time. And then I thought that part was a little bit harder because you're just running, trying to dodge, not get shot. And then once he drops down underneath, like once everything goes, that was really easy. All I did was put the grenade launcher on the assault rifle and popped them off and ran around, picked up items, kept popping off on them again, and that was probably one of the easier battles.
Yeah, Death's Head didn't prove to be that much of a challenge, I feel.
No.
All right, so that's pretty much it for gameplay. We might have overlooked 1 or 2 things, but first-person shooter, and it's a lot of fun. And there's gore, and you make things dead.
Yeah, and things explode. So just fucking play it. Just go play it. It's fine. Let's
Graphics.
Go. Graphics.
Graphics.
I just want to get off my chest again that graphically this game really impressed me at the time.
Agreed.
It still impresses me now. The frame rate is flawless. I didn't have any stuttering that I can think of, that I can recall. The cutscenes look good. Some of the character models were a little funny. I guess Max comes to mind.
A little bit. I mean, in correlation to everybody else, he's just this giant, bulky
He's supposed to be,
mess.
yeah.
But yet, I mean, it's fitting. It's him.
I did notice that, and I didn't notice this before, but I noticed this time that, objects in the distance are a little bit more blurry, and as you focus on them or get closer, they will become more sharp, which is one way to keep the performance and the frame rate up.
Yeah.
I did come across a couple anomalies. I took a screenshot, and I'll probably share it on our Instagram, but I walked up to what I wasn't sure was on the ground, and here was a pen and a piece of paper that the image file was just way too big. It was like a giant pen. Like it was really weird. But for the most part, I like the way things are designed. I think Blazkowicz himself looks a little goofy every now and then, but the other characters were pretty believable. Mm-hmm. And I really liked the Jewish armor that. Came in later in the game. That Carolyn has. I think that plays a larger part in the sequel.
Which I gotta say, Caroline's armor, not to get like way off of it, there was the one point where you went through the tunnel chute and there were the 2 Nazi robots that looked like they were about to destroy you.
Kicked ass.
And then she just fucking Gray Fox, like the whole thing
Gray
out of it.
Fox, oh my god, you're right.
That's the first thing I thought of. I'm like, oh god, what is this gonna have? It's like bad. It's like, oh shit, she's the goddamn cyborg ninja. Awesome.
More Blazkowicz. The boat see you.
But I agreed. I think the armor was just awesome.
Yeah.
We
didn't see enough of it.
I didn't really have too many like hiccups when it came to grab. There was like once or twice where I threw a knife and it got shaky, but that was just wherever it landed within the graphics itself. But no, it was smooth. The cutscenes were really good. Even just the regular gameplay kind of detail, it still looked nice. I think a lot of stuff was done in 60 frames per second, which really kind of helped bring the game together. And for 2014, I mean, granted, 3 years ago, you're still running off the PS4 system, but that's still pretty damn good, or at least the way they were able to do that. So between that, the action scenes, the underwater, I really have no complaints when it comes graphic wise. I mean, we could sit here and gush over it all night, but honestly, I would rather just compared to some of the other games we've been playing lately, I think this really is a step beyond a lot of other games that it was even up against, at the time. I think it did really, really well.
Just an aside, the gore I thought was like just right. It wasn't like Doom level of gore, but
where it's super over the top.
Yeah, like there were a couple of things here or there, like okay, I shot this guy in the leg and then in the head, and you can see that he doesn't have a head anymore, and there's blood on the wall, like that kind of thing. There was a segment in the submarine where it just like there was just like mincemeat everywhere, and the walls were red, and I actually really took stopped for a moment. It was like, wow, that got really gory. And I hadn't thought about the gore throughout, most of the game. I think it was just the right amount. I did like a few of the touches, like if Blazkowicz is pointing at something, the gun will slightly move in his hand with his breath.
Yeah.
Again, that might be a little bit more gameplay, but it's part of the way that the graphics
it's still part
work.
of it, yeah. Or even if you were to shoot people with the laser craft worked, and it's not like they would just explode. Well, they would explode sometimes, but it would be more burns than anything else. Like it on the texture map of the enemy, where you would be able to run up and they just look singed, like crispy. Rather than
or if you do the use the scope and do like the full charge shot, they just like disintegrate, they just like evaporate. That was always satisfying. As sick as that sounds, it was always satisfying to do.
No, it is.
The gun size of the screen, the guns were huge.
Yeah, it was. I think they could have scaled that down a little bit, but that's just kind of keeping with the series.
Yeah, if I was playing it on PC, I'd probably change around the settings a little bit. But playing the console version as it is, if you've got two shotguns or two of the laser marksman rifles up,
then you have like 65% of your screen left.
Basically, yeah. But graphically, for an early PS4 game, I feel it's a triumph.
I concur wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly.
All right. Well, if you don't have anything else for graphics,
no. Yeah, I know that's a short graphic segment, but I mean, there's really not much else you can really get into. I mean, it's just good.
They made sense. The weapons were fairly realistic for the time and the setting and everything. Nothing jumps out as crazy.
No, other than the entire premise
things
of the game. But that's other
than the crazy things.
Yeah, the crazy things are the craziness. Yeah.
All right, music.
Yeah.
We're going to have Steve's Music Minute here.
Music.
Steve's Music Minute.
Ba-doo-doo.
Da-da.
There's
I don't want to say I found the music lacking in the game. Obviously, with cutscenes, there were some. We already touched on the ending credits of how it really didn't fit. It kind of did, but it was just, I don't know, it wasn't led up the way it should have been for that type of tone for it. Honestly, with all the rampaging and everything else, I found it hard to really listen to too much. I mean, there were a few songs. I honestly think this was probably one of the smallest credit rolls of music that I've seen in a game in a while. Like
Yeah,
it,
you,
it was
you could
like
find records, but I didn't like listen to them or they weren't
no,
used.
no,
you know,
and
that
and
crazy.
I didn't do that either. So just basically taking the music that was put, just put forward in the game, like taken for face value. I mean, there really wasn't too much. I mean, you had some, I don't even know German songs. I
Yeah.
don't know where that really fits in the realm of reality. If that was something that was just made up, maybe that was something that was done around. I remember at one point there was like a German rock song, which just didn't stand out with anything because the Nazis destroyed basically literature, art, music, other than like their own fanfare songs.
Well, they collected art and they burnt books. That's true. But it was almost like the German Beatles is what I think I discovered the same thing.
Yeah, and I don't know. I really didn't get a lot when it came to the music for this game, which granted, it's not like I'm going to play Wolfenstein to listen to the soundtrack.
Oh, you don't have the CD?
Oh, no. Can I borrow that?
You don't have the No, I don't have it.
Can I burn it?
What?
What
That
happened?
was awful.
What happened?
Oh,
What happened?
my God.
What happened?
Can I burn it? Okay, so
Cut it in.
I'll cut that in. Frack. So let me just say that I'm a little underwhelmed. I'm a little underwhelmed with the music. I was expecting, or I was hoping for just a little bit more. I didn't feel
Yeah.
like there was any heavy use of theme. There was no real like Wolfenstein theme, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I get it.
And it's set in an alternate reality. And like I said, there's like the German Beatles, like here or there. I was like, I would have almost wanted more of that. Like I would have expected there to still be music and what we would expect for the time.
Yeah.
But it to be Nazified, if that makes sense.
I get it.
And then just the ending credits just seemed out of place. And I almost want to say that my favorite part of the music for the game is when you just boot it up. And there's like a cymbal, and it's like this rock theme, which
Honestly,
doesn't make any sense. It doesn't really fit the tone or anything.
But I think that's the most music you really actually get out of the game.
The menu,
Yeah.
the opening menu. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, there's really not much else on. And the only other closest thing I can touch on when it comes to music is just the audio itself. The sound effects and the background voices of when anybody was talking seemed so disproportionate, where the effects were so much louder than what people were saying. This is a game that I really actually needed subtitles on so I could see what's being said in the background.
Yeah, I had the subs on too.
Yeah, because I would try to turn up the volume to hear what's being said, and I'm playing at like 2:00 in the morning. I want to hear voices and the dialogue, but it's compared to the sound of gunfire and everything else. It was pretty drowned out, and that was a little disappointing. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, the gun sound effects really take priority when in terms of the sound design.
I mean, I get it, but at the same time, if you're gonna have people speaking and dialogue, well, let me actually be able to fucking hear what's being said.
I played with my headphones on, so like my headset, and
Okay.
I found that it was a little bit more balanced.
Oh, all right.
And I did play with the subs. I wanted to talk about the voices for a minute, if you're good, like the voice acting.
Yeah.
I really liked the character that's crazy in the hideout, the one that is like talking about like predictions and calculations and all
Oh
that.
yeah.
I think
What's her?
Tekla?
Tesla. It's like a play off of Tesla, but
Something like that, yeah.
It's not Tesla. Yeah, I think you're right.
I didn't talk about her in the story segment. I liked her as a character. I liked her arc, and I liked her voice actress and the way it was done and delivered. It might be completely
agreed.
over the top and silly to someone who who's just an American, but the other voices like Blazkowicz, he got old fast for me.
Yeah.
Like, he got really old. Just
Fergus is going to be Fergus.
go over
Anya,
here.
you couldn't really tell. It's like she seemed to kind of like mix an accent in, not
Yeah.
really so much.
mixed bag.
Christina, I mean, that was just straight through and through. I mean, they really did do a good job, but I would agree with Teska, where
Yeah.
that was good, and especially like her speech at the end. It's like think that was probably one of the most
Yeah.
dramatic points, at least just when it came to
And how she's like
some
a
type of
split
monologue.
personality, and she's got
Yeah.
two voices in her head, and the whole thing. Like
Yeah.
like that was some of the outstanding in terms of voice acting for the game. I think even more than Death's Head or Booby or Frau
Yeah, although I will say
Blobber, whatever her name is.
with the cast of characters that they had and the voice actors for them, I do think they did a good job with it overall. I mean,
Or the Jewish guy who's the
Sid?
technophile.
Was it
Set.
That's
Set.
it. Yeah.
He I thought his voice acting was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But Blazkowicz, more Nazis, more death.
Yeah, I mean that was just
How
kind of
many times
predictable.
have I done this?
So the rest of them
Keep going.
they did kind of support
I
everything.
gotta press on. More Nazi brains on my hands.
This will never
Oh
end.
my god.
My dreams are filled with nightmares.
This will never end.
Never. I keep seeing her face.
Time is a flat circle.
You're clear.
My name's BJ Blazkowicz. Reporting for dirty. Dead.
Am I low on health or am I on the table? Nice. No, that kind of.
But yeah, for sound design, for music, all that. The laser weapons. I really love the sound of them. If I didn't already say that, I love the sound of the laser weapons.
Yeah, it wasn't just your
ba-doo, ba-bow, ba-bow, da-da-dow.
pew pew.
Well, if that's all we have for music, we're there.
I think that's
We're
it.
at final thoughts.
The thought of final.
Final thoughts.
To me, Wolfenstein is Doom Light. I haven't played the new Doom yet, but the new Doom yet.
Doom.
I feel that this game was a good foundation for this generation, a good foundation for launching not a new franchise, but to reinvigorate, like a new reboot. It was enjoyable, a little bit crazy, but still fun. If you take the time to stop and look around and dig in, you'll find that there's actually a lot of story there. We didn't discuss the hidden like newspaper clippings or different things to just read. And if you take the time to get a little more depth out of the game, it is there, but you can play it, like 7 hours straight, just go from checkpoint to checkpoint if you just so desire.
Yeah, we're not going to give you everything. You have to find some yourself. God damn it.
Ultimately, I had a good experience with the game. I think sometimes it's a lot of fun just to play a game where you go around and shoot Nazis.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's therapeutic because that's not really the right word. I think it's great that Wolfenstein was resurrected, and I'm looking forward to the sequel, and I want to play it.
Everything he said. No, but for real, actually, this does make me want to get the sequel, only because I want to see what the next chapter is, because I have some unanswered questions. I'm really glad that this was a game that was visited. I know I say this in like a lot of other final thoughts, but it's only because these aren't the titles that I see pop up and come out and say, oh, I think I'll just pick this up and play it. So it's kind of nice and refreshing to know that there's a series that has been so well known for so many years, especially among, gamers of our age bracket who have grown up with it, that can still stand the test of time when backed by the right company and done the right way.
Shooting Nazis will always be cool.
Yeah, that's never going to go away. That's pretty good. I mean, that was back in the 1940s, and here we are, 2017, Nazis all over again. But don't shoot the ones today. That's illegal. That's not good. Just keep it to the virtual console, please.
Killing Nazis.
It was surprising to see the depth that could be put on a franchise like this, where it's not just shooting Nazis. There's actual story, and there's a different, I don't want to say perspective on the game, because again, you're still just shooting Nazis, but there's a lot more added content than just taking down the next Reich. I really don't have the words to really sum it up. My final thought is that I'm probably gonna, I would say, pre-order the next one, but it's coming out today, so I'm probably just gonna end up
Too late.
I'm probably just gonna end up getting the new one and playing through that, and that will make it into my rotation of games. So that way I can try to keep it fresh and maybe get all of the Enigma codes, and we'll see what goes on for the next chapter of Blatzowitz.
Going to solve Enigma, the imitation game.
Maybe.
Edward E. Enigma.
Yes.
The Riddler.
I thought about that when I was running down through the titles, like, oh, the next Enigma. Edward E. Enigma. Oh, God, the Riddler.
Val Kilmer's Batman. No!
No! Michael Keaton all the way. What?
All right. Those are our final thoughts. Let's get right into the score.
The score.
I will begin with the score. It's going to be nice, easy, straightforward. This is going to get a very, very solid A-.
A-, cool.
Yeah, don't want to give it a full A. Deserves more than a B. It meets my needs as a first-person shooter, but it has that extra content that can definitely separate it from like your regular Call of Duty bullshit. Which which is bad because I like Call of Duty, but if they made a multiplayer of this, I'm in.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Okay. I was thinking 85%. I'm giving it a solid score. You know, there's no multiplayer now that I think on it. There's none at all.
No.
So I'm going to dock it 15 points for that fucking cordless drill.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No.
No, 85%. That's my score. If you've got Wolfenstein, play it again. If you don't have it and you see it on the bargain bin, it's probably worth downloading.
Yeah, you can go get it for $20.
Installing is what I mean.
Totally
Sorry.
worth the $20.
Totally. My copy actually came with the Old Blood. I hear the Old Blood's good as well. So if you guys see that anywhere, pick it up.
2-in-1.
Support Bethesda so they can get working
And
on
Machine Games.
And Machine Games.
Because they're doing good.
And get working on Elder Scrolls 6.
Oh, Jesus. VR.
That's our episode.
That's it.
No Harry, no Clark. This has been Ralph and Steve, the Ralph and Steve-a-thon.
Ralph and Steve-a-thon.
Wolfenstein, the New Order.
You only got a little bit of Rambo. Could have been a lot more. You're welcome, or we're sorry. But at least the fun thing that we get to announce is there is going to be a special fun episode.
A surprise.
For
those loyal
coming.
fans of ours.
And the four of us will be reunited, and it will feel so good. Oh, it's so much talking.
We also have a surprise from good old Bob. He presented me a box with a game inside, and I have not opened it. We'll be opening that the next Mubbers that we do.
Wait, really?
Yeah, really.
I didn't even know that.
No, surprise!
Oh, God. How the fuck?
I don't know what it is. It could be anything.
I don't know.
It could be Bear Grylls Survival.
I don't care what it is. Bob has been amazing thus far, so
It could be E.T., the extraterrestrial, for the Atari 2600.
I'm just going to steal it and probably sell it.
It could be Custard's Revenge for the Atari 2600.
I have seen that one. I don't know how I feel about the gameplay and story of that. But hey, you know what? If Bob wants it, Bob gets it.
Well, okay, we're going to open it. We're going to see what happens. You're going to hear reactions. That's all we got for Wolfenstein. Thank you so much for listening.
Love you guys.
Love.
Bye.
What's love got to do with it?
What
Got to do with it.
Got to do with it. Got to do with it.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Game over. Game over. Game over. Game over. Game over.
Thanks for listening to Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. Stay up to date on our Facebook at facebook.com/superfunpodcast.
1, 2, 3. Welcome back
to
everyone.
Welcome
Didn't you
back,
say-
everyone. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
didn't you say
did say
everyone
that.
last time? Okay.
I did. No, I fucked that up. All right.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome back, everyone, for another episode of Super
You're
Fun.
like watching me do it. We can't do it.
Do we not look at each other? Do I
I
need
don't
to look
know.
this way?